Hello and welcome to AFM Ready. I'm your host, Kelly Miller, Recruitment Coordinator for the School of Accounting and Finance at the University of Waterloo. And every week we like to focus on a new topic relating to the Accounting and Financial Management program. Today, we'll spend the next 30 minutes talking about how you can go beyond and get involved in competitions and clubs to level up your business acumen. Today on AFM Ready, we have three very special guests. We have Grace Sham, who works within the SAF, and we also have two current AFM students. We have Ryan and Aliana. Thank you all for being here today. To start, Grace, can you tell us what you do within the SAF?
Sure, Kelly. So my role is the Experiential Learning and CPMRE Coordinator. CPMRE stands for Center of Performance Management Research and Education. My role basically is to help support different learning opportunities. So I support the Student Venture Fund, the Student Investment Fund courses, as well as the International Study Trip course. As well, I help send students to competitions and as well as other support for the Center of Performance Management.
I would think the majority of high school students know the term extracurricular activities, but they may not be familiar with co-curricular activities. Can you explain what the difference is between the two?
Yeah, so the extracurricular activities are activities that are hosted by the school, but not necessarily tied to academics. So like different clubs or sports, whereas co-curricular activities are ones that are hosted by the school that, build on your learning. So attending case competitions and building on your skills for finance and accounting would be considered co-curricular.
So we recently did a podcast about how AFM is structured and how it has a program called SAF2IX embedded right into it. Now, the goal of SAF2IX is to support a student's transition to the SAF community, foster their academic success, enhance their people skills, and prepare them for academic and employment choices in third and fourth year. They also talk about how this initiative includes experiential learning opportunities such as events and workshops, interactive webcasts, and team-based and problem-solving situations connected to courses and extracurricular situations. So I'm curious to know, Grace, how do co- and extracurricular activities help with a student's growth and success?
They help students grow and succeed because they give you an opportunity to test out your skills, to apply your knowledge that you've learned in the classroom. So you get a chance to, also compete against other schools and competitions where you can, see where your skills line up against, other, students from other programs that are, business related or finance related. It gives you some confidence in, your abilities and what you're learning. And there's also the other side of things where you can expand your knowledge on what you've learned in the classroom. So the Student Investment Fund and Student Venture Fund do a more specific dive into either investing or early stage companies.
So you just mentioned a few, but what other kinds of co- and extracurricular activities does SAF offer its students?
So there's a lot of different activities that students can take part in. Some of the extracurricular activities include, women in finance. These are student run. There's also ACE Consulting, where they help different businesses solve problems. There's, a bunch of different student activities as well for the co-curricular side, along with the Student Investment Fund and Student Venture Fund. We have an international study trip where students can go, pre-pandemic could go and travel and meet different different business executives in different countries and learn about, the global markets. As well, there's a financial management for high growth companies course, which really gets you working on a consulting project for startup companies. So those are some of the activities that we offer.
Let's switch gears now and talk about case competitions. This is something that AFM encourages its students to get involved in, but what exactly are they?
So a case competition is a type of business competition where teams of students compete to develop a solution for a business that's highlighted in the case. These businesses are usually facing a certain challenge or opportunity. So the team works together to write a report and present their solution. So oftentimes the competition is broken down into different rounds. So the first round is often the written report, and then the field is cut down for the presentation round.
And how are you involved in these competitions? Is this something that they do within their courses, or can they do these types of competitions outside of their courses?
So case competitions often happen outside academic courses. So we offer at SAF a competition subsidy program, which allows students to go to competitions completely subsidized by the school. So there's no cost to them. And then we find specific competitions, usually that are sponsored by the school, by other schools, for students to compete in. There's also internal case competitions that we sometimes host as well. There's a lot of opportunities external to the school as well that students can find, or are promoted by different clubs and stuff.
So you mentioned that the school does help students who are involved in case competitions when it comes to scholarships and helping fund this. Do they also help mentor students through these competitions as well?
Yeah, so we have faculty advisors that help our teams out. So depending on the competition and depending on the area of focus, we do have different faculty that assist.
Perfect. Ryan, we haven't forgotten about you. Let's talk a little bit about your student experience. What have you been involved in since starting AFM?
Yeah, so my first year, and I guess kind of beginning of my second year, I've been involved in a lot of the ambassador programs. I've done some work with financial literacy in the classroom. I was a peer mentor this summer for the incoming first year students through Waterloo Ready, and really just getting involved with other things like going to all the UWFA events and the UW Management Consulting Club, and trying to kind of explore my different areas of interest in accounting and finance and really get a better idea of what I kind of want to do with my co-op terms. And I think throughout my first year, I guess we'll touch a little bit more on this after, but it was super important for me to get involved, just to kind of build a lot of my soft skills and technical skills, and integrate myself into the community and be as impactful as possible.
So do you feel like you've grown from all of these different experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I think outside of being in the class, this is part of kind of what made my first year in a bit, is getting involved, meeting so many great people who are driven to kind of be as impactful as possible like me. And it gave me, I guess there's kind of three things that I really took away from my experiences, and that being, like I mentioned, soft skill development. And so learning how to work with other people and how to kind of be a leader in different roles. Next is technical skills. So I would have learned a lot of kind of core technical skills like financial modeling and Excel, and really things that will help prepare me as best as possible for. And third is, I think probably one of the biggest is learning how to really elevate the quality of my work and make it as purposeful as possible. And so for a lot of the extracurricular involvement I had, I started to think about things that I hadn't really thought of before in terms of submitting my work. How do I make this as useful as possible for the person who's going to use it? And how do I kind of start to think a few steps ahead and be forward? And so that was extremely valuable for me.
So there are so many opportunities, not only within the SAF, but across campus, because I think we have something like 300 plus different clubs and organizations and sports and recreation that you can get involved in. How did you narrow in on the clubs and organizations and activities that you did? And what was it about those that became important to you to get involved in?
Yeah, so for me, I've always been someone who's kind of driven by passion. And so mainly all of the clubs and extracurriculars I got involved with were just, I was really interested in the work that the club was doing, and I wanted to get involved in. And so that was kind of how I made my decisions around what I applied to and what I pursued. And it's been incredibly important, I think, for obviously the skills that I would have developed, but also just to be impactful, to start to help contribute to something bigger than myself and really bring up those around me is really important to me. I think I've been someone who has been very fortunate, or not fortunate, but yeah, I've been extremely fortunate to have been supported so much throughout my kind of early career. And so I want to give that back and try and be kind of a mentor or support people as much as I possibly can.
You've already done so much, and you've talked about giving back. Is there anything new and exciting that you want to get involved in this year and upper years?
Yeah, so I'm in my 2A term. And so my kind of big target now is being involved in the student investment fund. I think Grace mentioned this a little, but being able to really dive into investing and start to build those technical skills and this conceptual understanding of finance is something that I'm really excited for. But also to kind of continue my work as an ambassador and as someone who's trying to help others and acting as a mentor for kind of more and more people as I go through and mature in the program.
What would you say to students who are worried about being too busy to get involved, or say that there's no opportunities to get involved within AFM?
Yeah, so I think just to touch on the first one, that was something that I was not concerned about, but was kind of focused on coming into my first year. And I very quickly realized that you have time for the things that you make time for. And so I pretty quickly learned that time management and organization is really key. And so as I started to kind of build those skills, I realized like if I wanted to get involved in this and get involved in that, as long as I focused on it and made time for it, it was more than enough time to kind of touch off all my areas of interest. And so there's definitely enough time to get involved. Obviously, focusing on school is important, but I've been able to kind of find that balance just through, I guess, being well organized. And in terms of no opportunity to get involved, I don't really know where those kind of ideas are coming from if you have them, because there's I think well over 200, 300 clubs at the undergrad level in the University of Waterloo. And then there's the School of Accounting and Finance clubs and all the case competitions. And there's so much that you can get involved with. And I think you just have to look and think about what you're really passionate about. I think this comes with knowing yourself. So I feel like a lot of people don't really have things they're interested in until they really think about it. And so that's something I did, is I focused on, what's really important to me. And that allowed me to drive my decisions as to what things I wanted to get involved with. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity to get involved.
Aliana, as an upper year student, I'm sure you've been involved in a number of extra and co-curricular activities. Can you tell us about some of your most memorable experiences?
Yeah, for sure. So I think in my first year, I wasn't as involved as I would have liked to have been. And it wasn't until really my second year in which I started to branch out into different types of clubs that may have existed. And I started off with the fellowship program. It was a really great way to meet upper year students, to be mentored by them, to act as a mentor, to talk to the professors, the faculty, and that really opened my eyes to the different opportunities that existed within the School of Accounting and Finance. And that really led me to first applying for the Student Investment Fund. And the Student Investment Fund completely changed my career trajectory. I don't think without that I would have really figured out what career I wanted to pursue, and having that opportunity to learn about different job applications or different things that were going on was really helpful in terms of the long run on deciding really where I wanted to end up. And the Student Investment Fund led me to becoming a part of Women in Finance. And that initiative has really changed everything for me too, because what I've realized is that there's so much talent within the school that isn't really leveraged. And in terms of making all these opportunities accessible, Women in Finance is doing a really good job of that. And I've been really proud to be part of an initiative that's focused on making all these different things accessible to really the general Waterloo public.
And why do these experiences stand out to you?
I think the first being that I've met people that I think I'll have for the rest of my life as friends, as colleagues, as people I can rely on. And in terms of building those relationships, that really stemmed from the extracurricular involvement that I've had. Also, they've also really given me a good opportunity in terms of when I'm on co-op, I have people to talk to, I have people to refer to. And they've also helped, even in the workplace too, right? Within the technical stuff that I was doing, I would always rely on the stuff that the fund has taught me, or I would rely on what I had heard talking to industry mentors as part of the fellowship program. So it's really been a 360 view in the sense that it's helped both within maintaining relationships, but also when I'm in the workplace and also when I'm at school too, it works out everywhere.
How have co and extracurricular activities helped you grow both academically and professionally?
Right. So the Student Investment Fund, I'll tell anyone who listens, completely changed my career trajectory. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that opportunity, mainly because it set me up from a couple of different angles. The first being it really instilled a sense of diligence. I was able to learn on some of the technical abilities that you use when you're at the workplace. And then I was also able to learn from a career perspective on what actually existed and what I really had no idea existed until I became part of these extracurricular involvements. So I was able to learn about the different kind of jobs. I was able to talk to people who had just graduated and their thoughts. It helped me with job applications, with interviews. So they've really helped completely in allowing me to get to where I am. And then they've also allowed me to give back to the community. You know, within Women in Finance, we've been able to host recruitment workshops and mock interviews and resume critiques and provide the sense of fulfillment that I had gotten when I was a first and second year to those who are now in their first and second years.
As a student, why is it important to get involved outside of your courses?
I think it's so important, mainly because, you know, in my first year, I didn't really get involved. And I felt like I had a very, very narrow vision on what I thought I wanted to do. I thought I was going to go one way, go and get my CPA and try and work in a Big Four accounting firm. But I didn't realize how many other careers existed. And I think when you get involved, you have the ability to explore, to talk to other people. Now being on my third co-op and having gone through interviews, a lot of the questions that I've gotten have all stemmed from my extracurricular involvement rather than just focusing on the academic side of things.
I asked Ryan this question, but I want to ask you as well. What would you say to students who are worried about being too busy to get involved or say that there's no opportunity to get involved in extracurricular activities?
I think I would say two different things to each of those types of people. To the people that think they're too busy, you know, I get it. When I was in first year, I thought the same thing too. But I think it's so important to take out the time to devote to extracurriculars, mainly because you won't realize how much value you've gotten out of it until, you know, you've gone through it. So talking to people, learning from their experiences, it all really helps for you yourself to shape your own experiences and how exactly you want to pursue your career. You know, school only teaches you a certain aspect, but getting involved teaches you a lot more about what exactly exists. And to the people that don't think that there are enough opportunities, you know, you don't have to just do them all in your first year. Sometimes opportunities will come to you in your second, third, fourth year. And even once you get to your second, third, fourth year, they're also looking for competent people that are able to assist and that are able to get involved. So either way, there's lots of opportunities and it's important to carve out that time because it can end up being so valuable in the future.
Perfect. Okay, so last question. This is for both of you. Why AFM? Grace, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, AFM provides a lot of opportunities for students to, you know, get involved and learn more than just, you know, textbook accounting and finance. So we have lots of opportunities for students to, you know, really get, you know, involved in, you know, trying different things and, you know, meeting alumni and networking and, you know, just testing out their skills and applying what they've learned.
And Ryan?
Yeah, so for me, there's three things that I'll briefly touch on. I think the first is co-op. And so kind of in combination with the extracurriculars I've pursued, being able to explore different things with my co-ops will kind of help me gain practical experience, real world experience, while also kind of trying out different jobs and getting an idea of what I actually want to do with my future. The second is designations. So through the AFM program and the career specializations, I'll be able to graduate with my undergrad, my master's of accounting, and then pretty much both my CPA and my CFA completed, which for me is really important and really exciting. And then third is the innovative nature of the School of Accounting and Finance and the AFM program. So in addition to kind of the fantastic extracurriculars, the school is constantly kind of communicating with employers and trying to stay as current as possible with employer needs. And so they're having new courses roll out all the time and different focuses on things that they're really valued by employers. And so not only will you kind of build those practical real world skills that are so valued through co-op and extracurriculars, but also it's embedded in the coursework and kind of the culture of the school.
And last but not least, Aliana, how about you? Why AFM?
You know, I think about the experiences that I've had being in AFM, and I really can't think of another program in this country, maybe even in this world, that would have allowed me to try out trading, private equity, investment banking, all before I graduated. And when you think about that, coming out of school, especially someone like me who always thinks the grass is always greener on the other side, it's been so valuable to have all of these experiences and to have gone through the real workplace so that when I graduate, I feel like I have a complete understanding of what exactly I don't want to do and what exactly I do want to do. And I feel like now, kind of coming into the tail end of my university career, it's been really important for me to explore through academics, through extracurricular involvement, through co-op, to figure out what I want to do. And I feel like now I have a really strong idea about that.
Thanks for listening to our AFM Ready podcast. For more information about the AFM program, you can go to our website at uwaterloo.ca/SAF, or you can always check out our AFM Ready website, where you can chat with current students, read student experience blogs, watch tons of videos, plus so much more. All you need to do is click the link in the description box. Until next time.